in Los Angeles, California. It's about 7 p.m. on a Friday night, and that's why it's so dark in here. But I wanted to tune in and give you guys a quick update on some things. Anybody who's been following me for a while might have noticed that I've sort of gone dark the last few weeks, and a lot of people have been emailing me to find out why. So I'm here to tell you the answer to that question. I have some good news and some bad news. So I might as well start with the bad news and rip off that Band-Aid, so to speak. The bad news, and it's pretty bad news, is that I have torn my right shoulder. And when I say that, I mean every muscle in my rotator cuff, with the exception of the teres minor. And my labrum is torn all the way through, and my other muscles have very significant tears. My doctor basically doesn't know what's holding my arm on my body at this point. So what does this mean for my practice? It means that I can't do anything, and I mean anything, that involves my right arm. So I don't just mean handstands, I mean simple things like downward facing dog, or let's make it even simpler than that. I can't raise my arm above my shoulder right now. The pain has been pretty excruciating, to tell you the truth. It doesn't stop 24 hours a day, and it's hard to sleep. So that's the bad news. If anybody's super interested and you happen to be in like the medical field, contact me and I'll send you the prognosis. It ain't good. So I'll be going to meet with the surgeon a week from Monday. I have gotten out of surgery in a lot of instances. Like when I tore my meniscus, I overcame it. When I had a small tear in my other shoulder, my left shoulder, years ago, I figured it out, I overcame it. But this injury that is in my right shoulder is critical and extremely severe. So that means that I won't be making any more content in the short term. But that being said, that's the bad news. Let me tell you the good news. The good news is that I have a massive library of videos, a massive library of tutorials. So here on YouTube, I think at this point I have thousands, if you count my shorts, of videos and shorts. And on Vimeo, I have hundreds, literally hundreds of unique classes. So that's the good news. That content isn't going anywhere. And the truth is, you probably won't be able to get through all of it in a lifetime. So even if I can't create new content in the short run, just know that I have, I think about a decade, I mean, at least a decade or more of content already here on YouTube and on Vimeo. So again, if you're just tuning in, I have some good news and I have some bad news. The bad news is that I blew out my right shoulder in a very drastic way. I cannot practice my yoga at this point because of the injury. And for people who are wondering, it wasn't what would be called a traumatic injury. So what's a traumatic injury? A traumatic injury is when there's an event that hurts you. Like for example, if you get whiplash in a car accident, that would be a traumatic injury. If you're in a handstand and you flip over and you fall on your back and break your spine, that would be a traumatic injury. What I have, which is a full tear of my labrum and also tears in every muscle, basically in my rotator cuff, actually was not caused by a specific incident, but by stupidity. What was the stupidity? The stupidity is that I knew I had a shoulder issue for about the last 3 years, and I kept on doing some really, really, really insane stuff. If you don't know my insane stuff, on my Vimeo Premium channel, my Yoga Superhero channel, you could see my full Monty or my fuller Monty to see what I was doing up until just a few months ago when this injury became quite debilitating. Now, keep in mind, see this gray hair? Yeah, some of it might be from stress, but some of it might be from the fact that I am 54 years old. As my first teacher, Brian Kess, would say, I'm no spring chicken. Perhaps at that point, I didn't have a lot of business doing some of the stuff I was doing, such as my Superfly press from Firefly to handstand, which I did until the last, or things like, I don't know, lowering from handstand into Gandhabharandasana, chin balance, probably were not my very best choices. Am I a Buddhist? The question comes in. The answer is no, I am Jewish. But I like a lot of the Buddhist philosophies. I'll tell you a funny little thing. When I was in college, I took a class in Buddhism, and I wrote paper that my professor actually submitted to a journal because he really, really liked it. So I like a lot that Buddhism has to offer on a philosophical level, but I am Jewish. So anyway, thank you for that question. I am going to be answering questions tonight. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. So Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much. If I turn this camera around, you can see my Shabbat candles are burning right now. So I appreciate the sentiment. Shabbat Shalom. So again, the bad news, the good news, the bad news is I have torn my right shoulder to shreds. And the good news is that I have so many videos and tutorials in my archives that you probably won't miss me. Okay, so here's what you need to know. If there's anything that you want to learn in yoga, I probably have a video for it already. I mean, there's a really, really, really good chance that I have a tutorial or 2 or 3 here on YouTube, including my shorts, if you prefer shorts. And on my Vimeo channel, I have actually 2 different Vimeo channels. I have full-length classes that get you to any goals that you want: strength, flexibility, balance, all the things rolled up in one. For right now, I literally cannot lift my arm beyond about the height of my shoulder, and I can't do anything. So to put this in perspective, the concept of having my arm by my shoulder, like I can't do a child's pose with my arms extended, for example, because that would be arm higher than the height of my shoulder. This isn't just doctor's orders. It's actually pretty excruciating at this point. I have pain in my arm pretty much 24/7 until I fall asleep, maybe at in the middle of the night sometime out of sheer exhaustion, as long as I don't move or lay on my right side. I will be going to a surgeon, and for those who are concerned about that, if I do get surgery, I will likely be out of commission for a few months. Now, I'm somebody who heals pretty quickly, but let's be honest, I'm 54 now, so I won't be healing in a day. But guys, please do know that I am here for you, and my brain is still working just fine. So if you have any questions about anything, any video, any tutorial, anything that I could help you with, leave a comment. I will always get back to you. And the truth is, there's not a lot of content, a lot of poses that people are interested in that I haven't already done a video on. So whether it's evergreen or whether it's new, and spoiler alert, if you're just tuning in, it's not going to be new. It's still relevant, and I can still help you. Thank you for the kind comments. And so that's the main thing that I want you to know, why I have suddenly disappeared. I want to try to make some content. Again, it's a little hard when you can't move your right arm. This is my left arm, by the way. It just happens to be like on mirror. Okay, so greetings to Albania. Wow, amazing to tune in from so far away. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, so again, just know, and anybody who's been a fan for a while or a follower, you already know, I reply to every single comment every single time, okay? So keep checking in, keep checking my videos. I do have tutorials on just about anything. Okay, so that's the good news and the bad news. The bad news being that I've totally blown out my right shoulder. My doctor doesn't know what's keeping it on my body. It was not a traumatic injury. So now I'm going to get into the second part and the title of this video, which is yoga bad for you? Okay, so let's start with, is yoga good for you? Okay, the answer is yes. Yes, and I'm talking right now just about the asana practice. The asana practice, I mean, I would say that there's basically a pose that will help you with everything that isn't torn. Yoga is a tremendous practice, and I recommend it for everyone. Why did my shoulder tear? It was because I knew an injury for about 3 years, and I continued to work on it, and not just work on it, but do some really, really, really intense things. And so it was a non-traumatic, but it was sort of a escalating injury that finally hit a peak, and a bad peak. So first of all, yoga as a practice is very, very good for you. Okay, but I want to talk about what parts of yoga may not be as good for you. Okay, based now on 24 years that I've been practicing, a little more than 24 years. So I do have a lot of practice under my belt, and I'll tell you a couple things that I am at this point second guessing. Okay. A big one, and I hate to say this out loud, but a big one is flip grips. Now, I love flip grips. I've been crazy about flip grips for many, many years. I love creating all sorts of poses with flip grips, but I'm thinking just on a purely physiological level. Our shoulders are, in fact, our most mobile joint, and that is wonderful. And I think that in general, it behooves us to maximize our range of motion and do everything that our body is capable of doing. But I can also tell you that as someone who has always been extremely slow, extremely careful, extremely mindful in my practice, I'm second guessing if that rotation of a flip grip is one that serves your shoulder. I hate to say that out loud, but the more that I've gotten in touch with my practice, and particularly in dealing with this injury, which has now unfortunately hit a critical point, but for the last few months, I had been adjusting my practice, and the one thing that I've not been able to reconcile, the one thing, I could do my handstands, I could do my forearm balances, I could do any of the things, but I could not find a safe way to do the flip grip. And the thing about injuries is that they suck, but they also teach you a lot about your body, because it gives you an intuition that you know before you even do something, in many cases, whether it's going to hurt or whether it's going to feel good. And so as I have been grappling with sort of the gradual, I don't know, intensification of this shoulder injury that I've been dealing with, it's the flip grip that I keep coming back to as being a challenge. I'm just going to take a quick break to answer the question. Hi, am I an Indian? I get asked all the time, and if I'm an Indian or if I'm Hindu, because anybody who watches my videos knows that I have an Om symbol pretty prominent in my studio. I actually made a whole video about this. I love the concept of Om, and if you check out my video called something to the effect of what does the Om symbol mean, I go into why I have that on my wall and why I think it's so special. But I am not Hindu, I am not Indian, I am Jewish and American, and I'm born and raised in America. I live in Los Angeles, California. Okay, so flip grip is one of the things that I'm sort of questioning right now. And another thing that I'm starting to think is not wonderful for your shoulder, and I hate to say this, I'm not saying this because I think it's my place to question this ancient practice. It's just that from studying the practice and practicing the practice for so long and being so in tune with my body and being a lifelong athlete, I'm trying to process, since this injury was non-traumatic, it came from over and repetitive use, what are the things that probably caused me to tear my shoulder, the entire rotator cuff, and basically every muscle in it. And so the second thing is that I think is probably not terrific, particularly maybe as you get older and your joints become a little more vulnerable, is the reverse bind. Now, keep in mind, I've also said a minute ago, the flip grip. Both of these things are things that I have never had a challenge with. I've always been able to do it without any pain. But here's what you need to know. When you're somebody who can do things easily without pain, you're not going to be super in tune with how it's affecting your muscles, because your muscles are not responding. They're not giving you feedback. But once you have an injury, then you start to become more sensitive to how these movements affect your body. Also, those with less flexibility will have that same intuition. And by the way, my general rule of thumb, and I say this, I don't know if you guys know, but I also have a program called Mini Yogis, Yoga for Kids. I was one of the very first people in the Western world teaching yoga to children way back in 2002, before Yoga for Kids was a thing. But I always tell my kids, and I make them respond and repeat after me. I can't even think of words anymore. If something hurts, you just don't do it. Okay? Thank you for the nice comments. Now, sometimes in life, when we're an expert at something, we give advice and we forget to follow our own advice. It's because something hurt and I just kept doing it that I wound up blowing out my shoulder, and now there's very, very little chance that I'm going to be able to get through this without surgery. I'm hoping for the best, but again, not to repeat myself, but I know that people come and go on these lives, is that, sorry, AI is sending me these stupid messages that are completely ridiculous, so I'm gonna just ignore it, but it popped up as if it were a comment, and it's not a comment. So anyway, we have to listen to our own advice. And sometimes I am the worst person at that. And when I say, if it hurts, just don't do it, and I just kept doing it, I'm in trouble. So again, I have a very major critical problem with my right shoulder right now, a major tear, and I can't lift my arm at this point. So the reason I'm making this is because I don't want people, I'm hoping that people will not abandon me, because I'm not going to be able to create a lot of content for a little while. But I still have thousands of videos that will help you with anything you are trying to learn, and I still will be checking in on YouTube every single day to reply to your comments and questions, okay? So to make sure that you're learning exactly what you need to do. So for those of you just tuning in, I'm getting this question: can you do more public yoga handstands? The answer is, I can't do any handstands right now. I'm online tonight because I have blown out my right shoulder completely. I cannot use my right arm, and I would do one-arm handstands with my left arm, but alas, I lack that skill. And as long as I'm on my soapbox of things that may not be so great for your shoulders, I said, and these are just based on my recent observations and really getting more in tune with what has been serving me and what hasn't the last few months. I'm questioning, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm questioning flip grips, okay? Number one, that rotation is a very severe rotation. For many years, 20 or more years, it was something I could do in my sleep. But now that I'm more in tune with how it affects the shoulder, that is, as far as I'm concerned, a number one culprit that perhaps is not terrific on your shoulder. Number two is reverse binds, okay? So anything where your arm goes backwards and twists inside out. And then number three, which I just said, and I suddenly cannot remember. How about that? Because I'm also old. Okay, so I can't do any handstands. I won't be doing any handstands for a while. However, check out my handstands playlist. Check out my handstand breakthrough revolution course if you want to do handstands. I have tons and tons of tutorials to take you from beginner to advanced. Okay, so again, the question is yoga good for you? The answer, as far as I'm concerned, is on the conglomerate, yes. But you have to be careful with the repetitive motion. I think that doing the same thing every day in general has a deteriorative effect. And so mix it up. Now, that being said, was I mixing up my practice? The answer is yes. I was mixing up my practice about 30% every day and 70% the same every day. But that included a lot of intense work on the shoulder and some things that perhaps were not ideal. So again, basic rule of thumb, if it hurts, don't do it, okay? Listen to me because I didn't, and now I'm what they call SOL. Again, I do want to reiterate that I have a ton of videos here on YouTube and hundreds of classes on Vimeo for anybody who wants to advance their practice. And I will still be checking in every single day to reply to your questions and comments. Another thing about yoga, is it good for you? And literally just lifting my arm to move my hair. This is my right arm, by the way, guys. I know everything's in mirror. Send shockwaves through my entire biceps right now. Keep in mind, guys, that yoga is not just a physical practice. It's also a mental practice, and it's also a philosophy. So if you really want to enhance your life with yoga, I do recommend start with the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, read it, study it, read it again, learn it, take it to heart. The main thing about yoga, honestly, is being a good person. The other main thing about yoga, as it was created, was really more than anything about learning to sit still and to breathe, meditation and pranayama. So there's a lot more to yoga than just handstands and fancy poses. I know that handstands and fancy poses are a lot of fun. They've given me great joy for the past 24 years. But now perhaps for me, it's my time to learn to sit still a little bit and breathe. So I know that there are a lot of people who are going to look at this and say, see, yoga is bad for you. Here's a very, very devout yoga practitioner and instructor, a very advanced instructor, a mindful instructor, and my shoulder's done. My shoulder is completely torn to shreds because of my yoga practice. It's hard for me to type. It's hard for me to hold my phone and text. It's hard for me to sleep. So the other thing I'd like to say is that if you think you have an injury, don't work on it past an edge. Now, I thought I was only working to my edge. This has been my philosophy for a long time, and it served me well, is that if I have an injury, to modify as little as necessary, but also as much as necessary in order to continue my practice and continue to maintain the skills that I have or the practice that I have, and to back off when necessary in order to build back up. Now, I've done this for 24 years and have gotten through some tears, including a tear in my meniscus, in my knee, one in my left shoulder years ago. If you've watched me on YouTube, you'll see that a lot of times I have a brace here, I have a thing here, I have a different brace, a different sleeve, a different strap, all sorts of stuff going on. For a while I had the hand thing because I got decor veins, I think is how you pronounce it, in my left hand. The fun never stops. But let me also say this when people ask me, when I say that I just have completely blown out my shoulder on the right side, that they say, you see, that proves it, that yoga is bad for you. And it honestly does not prove anything. First of all, guys, keep in mind that the asana practice, what's asana? Asana are like the yoga poses. Technically, asana means to sit, but in American parlance, we call it a pose or a posture. But the asana practice in and of itself is there are, it depends on how you look at it, but probably tens of thousands of poses. Some people will say a few hundred, but there's so many variations of each one. Some will say tens of thousands. So we'll say somewhere between a few hundred and tens of thousands of poses. So keep in mind that being said, that there is yoga that is appropriate for everyone. I mean, your great grandmother can find a yoga practice that would serve her and would serve her well. So will your 3-year-old or your 18-year-old or a 40-year-old or a 67-year-old, okay? What I've been doing, my practice, and those of you who know my practice, particularly from watching my Vimeo videos where you can see my full-length practices with all the handstands and stuff, particularly my Fuller Monty class, which is the closest to what I've been doing every day for years, you'll see that what I'm doing is not what would be considered therapeutic yoga, okay? What I've been doing is, I mean, it's more of an Ashtanga-based yoga, but it's really much more of in sort of athletic. That's why, hence the name YOGAthletica. It's more of like an athletic yoga, more of a contortionist and acrobatic and all the things that I guess in today's sort of mystical conception of what yoga is. I mean, that's what I've been doing. The arm balances, the inversions, the things. Hello, guys. So yeah, I mean, I have always told everybody that the kind of practice that I do is not therapeutic yoga. But there is therapeutic yoga. In fact, there's a whole branch of yoga that is literally called yoga therapy, okay? And that is all about like dealing with specific issues in your body. And hi, Juan Antonio Capero Herrera, thank you. Dinesh, thank you. Hi, everybody who's tuning in. So there are very, very therapeutic kinds of yoga. I would say Iyengar is another form of yoga that is great for any particular need, okay? Anything, if you have an injury or you're working on a specific body part and you want like a slow, mindful, and in very many ways therapeutic practice, Iyengar would be the one. But if you're looking for the kind of yoga that is calming, that is meditative, that is therapeutic, it's not going to be sort of these more athletic forms like the sort of, let's say, the Ashtanga school of yoga, okay? So these more rigorous forms of yoga are less about, God, I hate to say this, healing your body, and they're more about challenging your body. Why? Why would I want to do a yoga practice that challenges my body? Well, the answer is that when this is for those of you who are more sort of athletically inclined, when you do a practice that is a lot more rigorous and a lot more challenging, it tends to keep your mind more in place because, for example, when you're practicing a handstand, your mind has got to be centered. If you're thinking about other things, there's a really good chance you're gonna fall over and maybe tear your shoulder or other things. Now, for those of you who are just tuning in or missed the bad news part of this video in the beginning, I have destroyed my right shoulder. Most likely I do need surgery at this point. My doctor, in his words, doesn't know why my arm is still on my body, which aren't great words to hear from your doctor. But the good news is that it is still on my body. And as I previously mentioned, even though I need to go on a bit of a hiatus right now, please know that I have videos that cover just about anything in the world that you want to learn about yoga. So here on YouTube, I have tutorials on hundreds and hundreds of poses. And I have thousands of shorts, and on my Vimeo channels, I have full length classes for every level, every intensity, for accomplishing every goal that you can imagine. So the question, how did it happen? The answer, it was not a traumatic injury, meaning there wasn't an accident. I didn't fall out of anything. I didn't go into a pose incorrectly. There wasn't like a moment that it happened. It's this has been sort of a degenerative process for the last 3 or so years. I started feeling pain 3 years ago. I've been to a bunch of doctors since then who keep on saying, oh, well, I had a doctor who's like, oh, it's weak lats. I had somebody who said, oh, it's your pec muscle. I've had people say that it's just a biceps tendonitis. And so I've been getting all of these sort of misdiagnoses. So I thought, okay, well, as long as I'm sensitive about it, I can continue to work on it. That was a mistake, because now I've gotten to the point of no return. This hand, I can't lift this elbow higher than my shoulder. In fact, it's hard for me to get it to the height of my shoulder. Here's a fun fact: when you blow out your shoulder, it's really hard to get dressed or undressed. It's hard to like put on a shirt, for example, because again, the arm can't lift up. So not a lot of fun right now. And believe me, if I can't put on a shirt, there's no handstands happening in my life right now. I'm hoping for right now, I'm going to try some acupuncture, I think, even though I hate needles. I actually did get a steroid shot a few days ago, cortisone or whatever it's called, in my shoulder, even though I was reluctant to do that. Just to give you an idea of how bad the injury is, most people I know who get a steroid shot, it clears it up, they say usually for 3 months. I would say that this shot has helped me to about 25%, maybe 25% better. So that does not fare very well. So for my immediate future asana practice, and just so you guys know, what am I doing in the meantime? Well, I'm doing a lot of abs, right? You know, I love abs. If I do abs, for example, I can't put my right arm like this, right? Like, so if I'm doing twisting sit-ups or something, my right arm has to go like this. So little modifications like that, but it doesn't affect abs. And I'm doing a lot of legs, but I can't take my arm up. So I can do things like namaste pose, for example, with my arms, or I could just have my right arm dangling to my side. So I'm coming up with some new practices that don't involve arms, and I'm just gonna, again, those of you who follow me know that I usually do the Santa Monica stairs once a week. And for those of you who don't know, the Santa Monica stairs is 189 stairs in a staircase in Santa Monica, hence the moniker. So one set would be 189 up, 189 down. I do at least 18 sets at a time. And so I have been doing that once a week. And quite frankly, guys, I highly recommend that you put some cardio into your practice, because as much as I love yoga, the one thing that it's really missing is cardio. Now, if you do deep Ujjayi breath, which you should be doing anyway, the whole practice, it does help to build cardiovascular strength, but it's not the same as actual hardcore cardio. So I am a big believer. I've only been doing, again, the stairs once a week. It is intense. I can't even do the math right now, but 189 up, 189 down. So about 200 in each direction times at least 18. So we're talking about 3,600 or so stairs up and 3,600 or so stairs down. I do that in approximately 1 hour. So anyway, thank you, Renee, for your kind words. I'm doing my best to heal as quickly as I can. I haven't been to the orthopedic surgeon yet. My doctor is not very optimistic about the prospects right now. It's okay. So anyway, so now my intention is to do sort of like a leg-based yoga practice every alternate day, and to do the Santa Monica stairs on alternate days. So instead of doing the stairs once a week, I'm going to do them 3 times a week, and I don't practice on Saturdays. So I'm hoping that will be, you know, a well-balanced practice for me at this time, until such a time when I can reintegrate my right shoulder. So from what I understand right now, should this surgery be inevitable, that it could be like a 6 to 18 month recovery. That being said, I tend to recover very, very fast. I remember once that I had sprained my ankle, and my doctor said an 8-week recovery, but I was back standing on 1 foot in a week. So yes, I was a lot younger then. I'm 54 now, so it's yet to be seen how quickly this will heal, with or without surgery. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to go without surgery. So if anybody has any questions that I can answer, please let me know. Again, the title of this video in the first place is yoga bad for you? A lot of people will say it is, because there's a lot of injuries in this practice. A lot of times people have injuries because they're moving too fast, they're not moving mindfully, they're doing things that their body shouldn't be doing, or that they're not ready for example. Or maybe, in my case, they're just overdoing too much of a good thing, okay? That doesn't mean that the practice is bad. It means that the way that it's being practiced is not ideal, okay? So I take full responsibility for this. Again, this was not a traumatic injury. This is me doing some crazy stuff. Oh, I remember I told you I forgot what the third thing was that I don't think is great for your shoulders. So this is in retrospect, considering how easy this was for me for years, and that it wasn't registering, and it is now. I'm second guessing flip grips. I feel terrible saying that because I love it, but I'm thinking that rotation in and of itself is not necessarily one that your arm was meant to be doing. It's a strong torsion, and especially not maybe every single day. Number 2, any reverse bind, the taking of the arm backwards, and a strong internal and reverse binding. But number 3, and most people are probably not doing this, but I do believe that this was sort of the nail in the proverbial coffin for me, the shoulder coffin, was one arm handstands. I think, so I've been practicing one arm handstands for about 10 minutes a day for at least 10 years. And so the last year in particular, I was feeling that I was feeling the pressure in my shoulder. On one hand, for handstand stability in general, I do recommend embedding the humerus into the shoulder socket, for stability. In a one-handed handstand, you're embedding for sure, right? Because all your body weight is on one arm. But I think that it's too much, and it's really overemphasized how much the humerus at that point is going to basically shove almost into the socket. And I think that it was that extreme movement plus flip grip and maybe some of the reverse binds that ultimately caused my entire shoulder to tear. This is not news that I'm thrilled to share, but the reason that I'm saying it right now is because, first of all, I appreciate all of you who subscribe, who interact with me, who comment, who like, who share, who do all the things. And for anybody who has been following me all the time, I mean, I've been posting every single day, at least a short, for quite a long time. And you might have noticed that I went dark about a week or two ago. And I'll tell you the truth is that whatever my last few weeks of shorts were, those were from weeks before that I had shot and forward dated. So I've not been able to practice for at least a month now. And that's not true. My last practice was December 27th, so maybe 3 weeks ago. And what could I say? I'm praying for the best. I'm hoping for the best. And I ask that you please continue your practice. Don't do anything that hurts. If you have a question, ask me. I have videos on just about every pose that you could imagine if you search here. And if you want my full length classes, go to my Vimeo channels. I have hundreds of classes there. And on my superhero channel, I also have discussions about yoga philosophy, which is super important to know. And when it comes to the ultimate answer of whether yoga is good for you, you got to go back to the philosophy, because the philosophy, honestly, is what yoga is all about, which is just the philosophy of living a mindful life and trying to be a good person. So I'll go ahead and argue that makes yoga really, really good for you. Before I sign off, if there are any questions at all, now is your chance to ask them. Otherwise, I'm gonna sign off in a minute. I know it's Friday night. It's 7:30 here in Los Angeles. I actually have to get back to work. I got a lot of stuff to do tonight. I see that there are people on here from all over the place, and so it's probably maybe later when you are. Thank you so much, you guys, for the well wishes. I am hoping for the best. I am hoping to be back sooner than later. I am asking that you continue to watch my videos, even the older videos. The content doesn't change. It's evergreen. It will forever help you with whatever you're working on. And if you're not sure, Shabbat Shalom. And if you're not sure if I have a video on something, just say that you're working on a specific thing and I will find the video for you, okay? Continue to ask your questions online. I check my YouTube multiple times a day for comments. I always answer every single question, and I always appreciate your support. So I'm about to sign off. If there's no questions, the answer to the big question in the title is yes, yoga is definitely good for you. Please, my friends, be mindful. Try to avoid injuries. They're not terrific. And even though I won't be doing probably a lot of new content, I do have plenty on here for anybody who wants to learn. So with that, I guess I'm just going to say namaste for now, and I do hope to see you soon. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for all your support.